All right. So if you could start by introducing yourself, Wa'il?
Yes, my name is Wa'il Ashshowwaf, and I'm the CEO and founder of Reyets.
And you're mentioning rights. Tell us a little bit about rights.
So rights, the word rights comes from two words, rights as in your civil rights and human rights, and the word I, which is eyewitness, being an eyewitness to authority and holding people accountable. And Rights is basically a mobile platform that helps people know their rights, protect their rights, and then take action on causes they care about.
And where is Rights available right now?
So you can download Rights on iOS and the Android store, and as well as you can access it on web through our website.
And it has, is it only for American civil rights right now, or what's the status on that?
So the information right now covers the US. We plan in the future to expand to other markets, but right now it's solely US based.
Perfect. And could you tell us a little bit about your company's core mission and values before we dive into our questions today?
Yeah, so our core mission really is to help people get equal access to justice and accelerate the rate at which social change and positive change occurs. And to do that, our values are really simple. One, we put the people first. So we try to take care of the people before we ask for anything or help. They're at the center of what we do. And secondly, we embrace innovation to achieve change.
So speaking of having an app that you're developing to put people first, what thoughts went into the design of the app so people would actually use it and find it accessible?
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time working with customers and thinking about the design so it would be thoughtful and efficient for people to use. For example, we have a 3-click rule, so you should never have to click more than 3 times to get to any piece of information or action that you need in the app. So that just reduces the friction. Other things we did is, for example, within the app, you have action campaigns that help people, for example, sign petitions, call government officials, or attend protests. So when we're building those, we actually created our own framework. It's called SAUCE, SAUCE. And so what it stands for is all the information in those campaigns has to be specific, has to be actionable, understandable. That means we're not like using legal jargon. It has to be complete. So if we tell you, send a letter to your senator, we're actually telling you what to write in there, who the senator is, and how to email them. And then the last is being empathetic. So in our language, using human language to connect with people. And that's our secret sauce on how we kind of approach customer experience.
I love that idea, and it ties. Yeah, it's a really great way of having a secret sauce, literally. So, do you know how many people are using the app today or have downloaded it?
Yeah, so we have about 10,000 active users on the app, and then there's parts of like the action campaigns and other things that are accessible through the web. So through the web on a weekly basis, we probably have another 20,000 people a week plus that are coming to the website and engaging.
And how did you get so many people on the app? How did you spread awareness about rights? So far it's been purely organic, but our strategy is to basically partner with grassroots organizations that already have an audience. The second thing we're going to start doing is working with micro-influencers that can reach out to their audiences as well and help us amplify. And third, which is really important to us, is building this campus ambassador program. So students are very active, especially Gen Z. You have over 70% that have participated in some kind of protest in the US. 80% support Black Lives Matter movement. So they're very active compared to other segments. Great. And of course, today we're talking about how to start these sustainable movements. And I'm really fascinated by something you've spoken about before, which is about this idea of knowing the difference between your user and your customer. So you get it right when you approach your user base. Could you speak a little bit about this distinction and how you came to that realization?
Yeah, so it's really important, especially when you're building something that's impact focused. Uh, Often the user, the person who's receiving the benefit of what you're creating, is not the customer, the person who's paying for that benefit. And so each one has different motivations on what they want out of the experience and why they're engaging with you. And so for us, for example, our customer, our grassroots organizations that are working with people, they want efficiency. They want to be able to amplify their voice. They want to be effective. The customer, the person actually using the app, they want to be empowered. They want to feel safe. They want to feel connected. So without that distinction, it makes it very difficult to be thoughtful in how you build your product.
That's a really, really great way to think about how to approach people, I think, when it comes to this, creating impact, in fact. And I would also like to ask, because this is not just about it's about practicing what you preach yourself as a company. What do you at Reyets do to support the movement you're trying to build?
So practicing what you're preaching is really important if you're creating impact. So for us as a company, we talk about this all the time. It starts internally. We really embrace diversity, thinking about our policies, how we have more diverse leadership within our team and inclusive leadership. The other thing is for us to be connected to the actual people that we're serving, our customers and the people that need our help. And to that end, we brought on a Chief Justice Officer. His name is Justin Moore, as a partner. And he is a civil rights attorney, so he helps us stay focused on actually ensuring the technology we're building has a connection to the change that's happening on the ground. So that's how we kind of like really stay thoughtful about making sure that what we're actually built is part of our company.
And I know that you always also take a lot of value in highlighting issues that may not be brought to light in other areas. Could you speak a little bit about that too?
Yeah, so that's one of actually, glad you brought that up. Really important things that we do is we find issues, like there are the big issues everyone hears about, like George Floyd, everyone knows that name. But there are literally thousands and thousands of other smaller causes that just don't get heard because those people don't have access to resources or they don't know how to amplify their voices. So we actively seek those out and try to highlight them to help them get justice and get the help they need.
I think it's nice to have an approach that you find that niche voice that is not getting heard and amplified through the reach you have. I think that's a really great starting point as well for someone in business to find that point, that niche they can put light on. And so continuing on this thread, so how do we as companies genuinely support and sustain sustainable movements that start from our own businesses, but then we can spread them like rings in the water? How do we support these movements?
Yeah, so for companies, they really have to have an intention and make a decision to make this part of the DNA of the company. It's not enough to just do this as something you do as a one-off exercise or just set aside some money and do it once and move along. So that means thinking how to create authentic change. A lot of the criticism that we're hearing on the market is that employees and customers feel a disconnect between what companies say they want to do and what they stand for and what they actually do, right? And I saw a really interesting post the other day that said, don't show me your mission statement and your value statement. Show me your employment numbers. Show me your wage discrepancy. Show me your data, like the information, right? So I think that's really important for companies to be authentic and do that.
And you talked about before that there is this idea of that the fact that we need leaders to create a movement, but you have this idea of a first follower. Could you talk a little bit about that too?
Yes. So actually, like people always think the leader is the most important part of a movement when it's actually the first follower. And if you think about it, when there's a leader in the beginning doing something new, you're often doing it and people are looking at you like, is this even going to work? They don't believe in you yet. It's not until the first follower comes and has faith in that leader and then publicly shows people that they're following and they're supporting that leader that makes it easier for the second follower and the third. And soon you have this movement because people are seeing the followers following you. So if you find someone that has a good cause, you supporting them as a first follower is just as important as the leader taking the lead. So I encourage you to support the smaller voices.
And on that note, do you have any other tips for closing that gap between inspiring people and actually getting people to act?
Yes. So I think you need to be very thoughtful in how you do it. And there's one incident that happened to me that really made me realize this, and it's around having a strategy. So my son has a Rubik's Cube and he's 12, and he could solve the puzzle really quick. In about a minute, he solves the puzzle. I can't solve the puzzle even if I spent an hour on this thing. So I asked him, how come you can solve it so easily? And he said, Dad, I have a strategy. I know the strategy. And so in the same way, we all may be working really hard to solve a problem, but if we don't understand the strategy, then we're not going to be effective. And so that's part of like the idea of like building rights is to offer people that strategy so that their work and effort can be effective.
Perfect. And so do you also, just on that note, do you have some tips from your experience on how you've actually done this, on how you've best inspired and sparked these sustainable movements around your company?
Yeah, so I would say that if you're a company and you're looking to create a sustainable movement within it, I can break it down into 4 steps. First step is just grab these 4 people in your company, have your decision maker, CEO, someone from sales and marketing, someone from HR, and someone from operations, and discuss with them what is important to their stakeholders. So your employees, your customers, and to the company. Then second, have them go back, talk to those people, and come out with some low-hanging fruit to implement. And then just choose the simplest thing that your company can implement. Could be as simple as like giving a day for volunteerism to your employees. And then third, measure it. And lastly, celebrate the wins publicly so that your employees can see that it matters, your customers can see it matters, and you can create the cycle. So that would be my advice for companies, to like the easiest way to just go and try it.
That's perfect, because my next question actually was, how do you start today? Like, what can you put in your calendar as a first step to do this? And I think speaking to 4 stakeholders in your company is very tangible.
Yes. So like I speak to CEOs and other executives. And I tell them, put 3 appointments in your calendar. And they're like, oh, I don't have time. It's difficult. I'm like, you've already failed if you don't have time. You need to be intentional about this. And it's good to do good, but there's also business reasons behind it doing good. You know, companies that are socially responsible constantly outperform other companies on the S&P 500. Right? So there's both a business reason and a more reason to do this.
That's great. That's all I had for today, Wa'il. Thank you so much for speaking with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Edie. It's been a pleasure and great opportunity. Thank you.